This process happens when I get an idea and I write it down on a piece of paper or whatever, receipt, mental, whatever. And if it stays with me like day after day after day, then I have to write an outline. And after I write the outline, I put it away. I literally put it in a drawer, close the notebook, whatever, and I try not to touch it for a week. If during that week I am itching to get my hands on that project so I can flesh it out more, then I have to write it in its full form.
This is a 3 Questions for Authors podcast brought to you by Quilltips. All right, guys, welcome to the 3 Questions for Authors podcast. I am your host, Gabriel. I'm the founder of Quilltips, and I've got a great episode for you today. We've got an author, Kae R Nelson, who's with us, who is going to dive into her new book, her debut book, A Woman Named Dale, and we're going to talk about a whole lot of other things as well. So, Kae, welcome to the show. Really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited. So excited.
We're excited too. So let's just kick it off with a little bit more about your background. So who is Kae R Nelson, the writer? How'd you get into writing? Tell us a little bit more about your story.
Kae is a complete weirdo. She is the opposite side of wherever she's supposed to be. That's the general rule for me, honestly. But I am from South Georgia. I am a mom, a wife, a high school English teacher, a service member, a disabled vet. I am all these things, which I think lends to the title of weirdo I give myself.
All right, and so you're an English teacher. You're from Georgia. Where are you now?
No, right now I'm in Las Vegas. So Uncle Sam decided to, when I joined him, decided to move us all around the country, my husband and I, and we have set our roots in Las Vegas right now.
So how'd you get into writing?
Honestly, I got into writing because I realized I couldn't get in trouble for talking back to my mom. That's where it all stems from. My mother is an amazing human. Pretty sure she's a saint. And I grew up in the household where you did not talk back to adults. Period. End of story, full stop. There were times as a teenager I wanted to say some things back to my mom, but I realized that would not be beneficial to my health. So what I would do is I would write those things down and then realize, oh, she's not gonna invade my privacy and read my journal. So if I just write down my frustrations, I can get them off of my chest and I don't get in trouble. It's a win-win. And that's when it started.
So when did you start writing, I would say, longer things or more in-depth things?
I started doing a little more of the creative writing when I took the journaling I was doing and said, well, I wish this would have happened, because I stopped journaling just about my mom and started journaling about life. And I would wonder, like, what if this happened? What if this changed? And I would transition from this real life situation and understand that I could alter it into another world, another person, and write that down. And that's when it became a passion of being able to create things that didn't exist or create moments that I wish should have happened different ways. It was the what if game. Yeah.
About on the reading side, what did you like reading growing up? What types of genres stood out to you?
I have always loved reading, always. It began again with my mom. Everything begins with my mom. There was a door-to-door salesman in an ill-fitted gray suit, and he came by the house and he was selling these green leather-bound gold-edged page encyclopedias. And my mom purchased an entire set. And whenever we had questions, she would make us go look it up. We didn't have Google, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have AI, thank God. But she would make us go look up whatever we needed in the Hunter Green encyclopedias. And I think the first thing that I read on my own out of those encyclopedias was something about Pocahontas. I was doing an assignment in elementary school, and I read that Pocahontas wasn't beautiful. She wasn't this gorgeous native woman that we see in the Disney movie. She was she was a little hard to look at. And I thought that was so amazing. Like, I would have never known that had I not read it. So then I started reading everything. I started reading manuals. I started reading books. I started reading anything I can get my hands on. And that's honestly part of the reason my family thinks I'm so smart, is because I would read manuals and dictionaries, just because I can learn all this stuff out of a book. And yeah, that's where the love of reading started. Those Hunter Green encyclopedias, man.
So what you're trying to say is that Disney lied to us. That's my takeaway.
Disney lied to the children. Can you
Come
believe
on,
it?
Disney.
I thought Pocahontas was this long-haired, gorgeous,
Yeah,
slim-fit native lady, and
right.
she wasn't. She wasn't. Not even in this. Like, they had an actual artistic rendering of what Pocahontas looked like, and friend, they were completely different. They were
Man.
completely different.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of a good Oregon Trail pun, but I got nothing, so we'll move on. So, when writing became a bit more of a passion, like actual kind of sitting down and fleshing out stories, what did that look like? Were you kind of nights and weekends just trying to write things down? Was it journaling? Like, how did it really rev up?
So when I started writing creatively, it overtook my journaling writing. I stopped journaling and I haven't picked journaling back up seriously to this day. I strictly write from a creative point of view. I write whenever I get a moment. I've tried to put myself on a schedule, like write every morning from this time to this time. And my love of writing, I felt decreased because now it becomes a job or something that I have to do to start my day. And I didn't like it. So I literally write whenever I get the feeling, whenever I have an idea. That writing can happen completely mentally in my head. It can happen on my phone, in a notebook that I carry around, anything on the back of a receipt. I don't pigeonhole myself into 4 to 6 in the morning you're writing because life changes. So I write whenever I can. Yeah.
And if you're working on sort of one book, let's call it A Woman Named Dale, we're going to get into it, but just from a process standpoint, you're saying, oh, idea comes to me, I just write it down. Are these scenes? Are these characters? What does it look like?
So this process happened, and I'll get specific with A Woman Named Dale, but allow me to go macro really quickly. This process happens when I get an idea and I write it down on a piece of paper or whatever, receipt, mental, whatever. And if it stays with me like day after day after day, then I have to write an outline. And after I write the outline, I put it away. I literally put it in a drawer, close the notebook, whatever, and I try not to touch it for a week. If during that week I am itching to get my hands on that project so I can flesh it out more, then I have to write it in its full form. I have to. So with the woman named Dale, the process started with my husband and I going to Walmart to go grocery shopping. It was a Saturday morning here in Las Vegas, bright, crisp 89 degrees, right? And we are turning into the parking lot of Walmart. And I asked him, would you still love me if my name was Dale? And he said, of course, it's just your name. Why do I care about your name? And I said, oh, that's so sweet. It's so sweet. And then I said, would you love me if I, and this like blew his socks off. Would you still love me if I was born different, if I was born male? And everything works, science is amazing, and now I can bear children. We have 2 kids, but I was born a dude. And he was like, "Oh no, that's too much. That then I got to do this, got to do that." And that's where it started. It was like, well, why would you? Now, mind you, people have their right to have romantic relationships with whomever they want, but I was like, we've been married 20 years. September is married 20 years, together 23. So you mean to tell me if right now you found out that science is amazing, but I was born a guy and we were able to have kids through science, whatever, you would love me like zero? Like after all the things we've been through? So that's where the story came from. And my women listeners know, my female listeners know that ruined my day. I'm like, what do you mean you don't love me? Like, what are you talking about? So then I wrote down my little, idea like, okay, he would love me if my name was Dale, literally what I wrote. He would not love me if I was born different, though we've been together 23 years. And that's a heavy shawl to put on his shoulders, but that's where Dale came from.
And
Yeah.
then after all that, you still had to go shopping at Walmart, duke it out in the
Oh,
aisles.
that
Yeah.
I still had to pretend I was just doing fine and push the cart and put the
Right.
groceries in. And I'm like, he wouldn't love me.
Authors, are you unhappy with your author website or feeling like you have too many tools that you've signed up for just to get your online presence set up? Luckily, Quilltips is here to help. Quilltips lets authors build beautiful, interactive book pages and author profiles that they can share with readers to grow their audience. It's fast, inexpensive, and looks great. Get started today by going to quilltips.co. That's quilltips.co. Well, it brings us to the process side of the book, which is, I think, one of the most interesting aspects of the book. Tell us a bit more about how the book is constructed and what that meant from a process standpoint.
Yes. So I'm a glutton for punishment, and I like to challenge myself. So those two together are not fun. But I wanted to write Dale's story in a way that wasn't just here's chapter one and then here's chapter two. I wanted it to be something different because I always want to stir up people's thought processes on why we do the things we do and why we treat people the way we treat them. So the best way for me to do that was to tell Dale's story, that singular story, in many different characters' points of views, right? So I decided what's the best way for me to do that? Well, I could do chapter one and say this is Dale, and then chapter two and say this is Mama, but that in and of itself didn't feel like it went into the weeds enough. So I decided to go epistolary, which comes from the word epistle, which means documents or letters. So I wrote Dale's entire story in the epistolary format, a true epistolary format, meaning there are no chapters. It is all documents. We have letters, diary entries, Facebook posts. We have police reports and medical records and all of these things that come together to tell the singular story of Dale. Now, on the flip side of that, we also get to understand the same story from the other points of views of the characters. Because all these documents don't just come from Dale's point of view. There are documents where Dale's not even in the room when these things are happening. So I wanted to give the reader a chance to kind of hear the whole story from the many different points of view and to determine within themselves from their own lived experiences how they would treat these different characters. What does it bring up in them? That was my goal.
I think it's really fascinating because it's not necessarily unique to tell a story from a few different angles, but in this case, you're telling a story from like 10 plus angles. I mean, there's just so many other people and they're at their point in time and you kind of zoom in on them and it's like, yeah, how did they interact with the story? And so you just get this much more interesting kind of holistic view of what's going on in this person's life. So I think it's really fascinating.
Appreciate that. It was such a bear to write though, because I write from Dale's point of view and I'm in my feelings. I'm an empathic writer. And then I have to write this part because it's her dad. And her dad is a very difficult person. So I had to go from Dale mentally to her dad to the pastor to all these people. And I want to say that's why it took me so long to write 22 plus months yeah, 24 plus months to write this is because the transition between the characters and the points of views, I had to take a moment. It went from heavy to heavy to sad to heavy. Yeah.
That lead to you getting stuck in a lot of spots during the writing process or just feeling like, wow, this is a lot of material to get through?
I definitely got stuck on some portions. There's a part in the book where Dale and the pastor are having a conversation or they're having a situation, and that I had to stop. I was so angry, and it's a weird feeling to be angry and hurt off of something you're writing that doesn't really exist anywhere else. And I'm not saying that to toot a horn or anything. It was hard for me to write that scene specifically because though the story is fiction, I've had a lot of readers email or, reach out to me and ask me, "Are you sure this is fiction?" I'm positive, sweetheart. This is 100% fiction. But those comments come from people who have seen Dale's life or they've experienced Dale's story either personally or someone in their families. So it's so real that it feels real to the reader, if that makes sense. It is a fictitious story, but it's true to somebody. It's true to somebody's life.
All right. Well, I think we've teased our listeners enough now that we just have to get into the book more and talk about it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read the back cover description, and then after that, I want you to really break it down for us, tell us what this story is about. So here's what's on the back cover: For a woman named Dale in the shadows of grace. A father's rejection, a mother's silence, and a child's decision to live on her own terms. What if the most important conversations in your life happened in the spaces between words, in diary entries never meant to be read, in letters never sent, in documents that capture the truth we can't always speak aloud? In 2019, 18-year-old Dale flees small-town Alabama with $3,200 and a broken heart. When Dale's viral Facebook post about complicated grief sparks a national conversation about family healing, she discovers that her greatest pain might become her greatest purpose. As she learns to turn survival into service, Dale realizes that some stories can only be told by living them first. This isn't a story of heroes and villains. No one is all right or all wrong. Not Dale, not her family, not the church, not the community. Through documents that reveal multiple perspectives, readers must decide for themselves who deserves compassion, who earned forgiveness, and what love looks like when it's complicated. So, Kay, what is A Woman Named Dale all about? Tell us about this book.
Dale is all about Dale, go figure, who has decided that their authentic self is someone that their family would not agree with, a lifestyle their family would not agree with. This story is about traumatic religious learning that happens in the South. Again, I'm from Georgia. It is also about found family and deciding who you are going to forgive, even if they've done you wrong. Because if you look at it, you have the religious side who is all about following the law of man, but because religion, I'm not going to get too deep in it because this is not the show, but religion, I feel, is a man-made concept. Now, being Christian and having a relationship with the creator is different. So when people take religion and they say, oh, you women aren't supposed to wear pants or makeup, that's religion, because nowhere in the Bible does it say that. But anyway, this story is about religious trauma, found family, and actually showing up and standing up for yourself in the life that you choose to live, regardless of people agree with it or not.
And Dale is she is trans, and that's
Sure.
obviously a key part of the book is just how she's going about figuring out what is her identity, what is her relationship to God, what's her relationship to her family, and at a very young age, needing to make maybe some structural decisions for how she wants to live her life in the way that's most kind of her truth and the way that she feels most comfortable in her own skin. How did you go about building this persona?
So this has been a topic that a few readers have again reached out and had issue with because I have never in my life been trans. I am not lesbian. I am a heterosexual woman. But and with that being me and this story being Dale, the confusion or the concern comes from, well, who are you to say what kind of life she has or the things she would do? And to that, I respond that I appreciate that there needs to be, respect put on this story, on Dale's story. So I approached that through reaching out to both friends and students, if they were comfortable, parents even of people that I know that are in the LGBTQIA plus community, and asking them authentic questions and asking them for complete honesty. And through all of the research, the interviews with people that I know, interviews with people that I don't know, and uncomfortable conversations where I have to learn these things about this lifestyle. Um, that is how I came up with Dale, through honest, pure desire to tell an authentic story without disrespecting anyone. That is never the goal.
Well, there were a few themes just from reading the book that I wanted to get your take on. So, the first one is absolutely faith and religion, because that's a huge part of the book. Tell us about religion in the context of this story and how you approach that.
So after the conversation with my husband at Walmart, right?
A lot
Put
of people
these
find
two,
religion in Walmart, by the way. Yeah.
right? It's everything is at Walmart. Okay, you can find everything there. Um, so after that conversation, I wanted to, as I said, I like making people think. I wanted to take these two communities that do not seem to get along. We have the religious community, and again, that word religious and religion that's being used intentionally. And then we have the LGBTQIA plus community. I wanted to put these two communities together because that's what we see the most of in the world, with the students, with people not being able to agree to see each other where they are and love each other anyway. So those two communities were put together for that reason. I wanted Dale to be in this community because a lot of people say, and I'm gonna piss some people off. I'm so sorry. A lot of people are gonna say, well, you can't be Christian and be this, right? Which, okay, but my pastor is not an angel. He's lied, he's cheated, he's done all these things. So he can be Christian and be a liar, but Dale can't be Christian and be a part of the community. So I want people, and I'm not telling people what to believe or how to shift, but I want to show people that we, myself included, have double standards for people who live different lives than what we live. So how is it okay for my pastor to, or in Dale's case, for my dad to be abusive, but still go praise the same God I'm supposed to praise as a trans person, but I'm the mistake and he's not? That is how that story of Dale, that's how that came to be. Like, I want people to see that I can't tell people they can't believe in God because of how they live. I can't. That is not my job. It's not my job to tell you you're going to go to hell because of what you believe. That's not my job. My job is to show you love. Period. The greatest of the commandments is love. So that's the goal.
Authors, are you unhappy with your author website or feeling like you have too many tools that you've signed up for just to get your online presence set up? Luckily, Quilltips is here to help. Quilltips lets authors build beautiful, interactive book pages and author profiles that they can share with readers to grow their audience. It's fast, inexpensive, and looks great. Get started today by going to quilltips.co. That's quilltips.co. Right, absolutely. And it brings me to my next question, which is just the difference of perspectives and how you could take something like religion and from her pastor's point of view, maybe from her dad's point of view in the book, everything, the way that she's living her life is the antithesis of like staying true to religion. But then when you listen to or read her diary entries and kind of hear about how she thinks about it, she has the complete opposite perspective. Like, she's living in a way that is completely aligned with God and religion, and it's just kind of this difference of perspective. Is kind of the same thing with her name. Where is she kind of her parents? I know there's this part of the book where they're having their son. They're going to name him Dale, and she's like, well, it actually kind of works both ways, like depending on your perspective. So what does that mean in the context of the book? Just how you can have one situation be viewed by so many different people in so many different ways.
So all of the stories, all of the perspectives, um, come from a place again of trying to be authentic to that character. Okay. For the dad, that was one of the ones that was a bear to write because in my core, I would never do the things that dad did. So it was hard for me to connect. Like with Dale, I can connect to Dale because I've been this weird, gangly girl my entire life, accepted or unaccepted. So it was easy for me to connect to Dale because she's living this life that people disagree with, and she's not connected to people because of how she lives. With a character like the dad or the pastor, that was very difficult for me to write because, again, at my core, I know that is wrong. Like being the writer and the reader of the story, I know that's a life that I disagree with. So having to write it and write it authentically was probably one of the hardest things I experienced while writing this story, while from concept to the finished product.
I think one of the interesting things as well from a writing standpoint is it's a story, and this is true for a lot of stories that have such a personal growth angle. Like, there's the character at the beginning of the story is so much different than the character at the end of the story. And Dale, I had this, that what I wrote down when I was reading was this kind of snowballing of actions where you start off with something small, you do a bunch of small things and then you look back and it's like, oh wow, like there was some dramatic change. How did you think about just the character arc and the growth of Dale throughout the story?
Well, I knew for Dale specifically, I knew I wanted to have a point in the story where the readers could see that, oh, that's just innocent play. Like at the beginning where Dale has on mom's shoes. Oh, I mean, my kids have tried on my shoes before. My mom does this thing where she used to do this thing with her grandkids when they're small and can't fight back. She'll put a little scarf on a little like a little blush on the boys, and then take a picture. Oh, it's blackmail. Just something funny. So a lot of that at the beginning came from innocent fun, like innocent. I don't think my son trying on my, I don't know, my shoes is going to automatically say he's going to be a gay man or a trans woman. I just think he's trying on shoes that look different. That's it. So with that snowballing example that you gave, I took that one small thing that should be innocent and is innocent, and then tied it to the father's personality and how he's going to make a big deal of it, and tied it to Dale's story from what I know of the ending and how that's going to extend to her, and just trying to put these small things together before I get to this big monumental moment. Because what I didn't want to do is have all these huge things happening to where the climax didn't feel like a climax because there was already 10,000 huge things behind it. Yeah.
Right, right. Um, on the Three Questions podcast, we always like to do a passage read. So, from what I understand, you've got a passage from the book that you've got queued up for us, and you're going to read for us.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to read it as is from the top to the very last word. And this is document number 10, Letter to Mother, written by Dale Morrison, dated December 12th, 2018. Dear Mama, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you'll throw it away or show it to Dad or take it straight to Bishop Patterson. But I have to try and tell you the truth, even if it hurts both of us. I'm not your son, Mama. I know that's what the birth certificate says. I know that's what everyone expects, but I'm not him. I never was. I'm your daughter. I've always been your daughter, and I've been dying inside trying to pretend to be someone I'm not. Do you remember when I was maybe 5 or 6 and I asked you why God made me wrong? You told me God doesn't make mistakes, and you said God has a plan for everyone, and we have to trust his wisdom even when we don't understand it. I've held on to those words for so long, Mama, because if God doesn't make mistakes, then maybe he made me exactly who I'm supposed to be. Maybe the mistake isn't me being a girl. Maybe the mistake is everyone expecting me to be a boy. I know this is hard to hear. I know it goes against everything you've been taught, everything Dad believes, everything our church preaches. But I'm begging you to look at me. Really, just look at me and see your child is hurting. I've tried so hard to be what you want. I've played football even though I hate it. I've worn these clothes that feel like a costume. I've cut my hair short and tried to walk, talk, and be different. But I can't. I can't keep doing it, Mama. It's killing me. When you used to tuck me in at night and call me your sweet boy, my heart broke. Not because I don't love you, but because I want so badly to be your sweet girl instead. I want to braid your hair and learn to cook your recipes and talk to you about the things mothers and daughters share. I want you to see me for who I really am, who you always tell me that God loves me, and you always tell me God loves me. But then you and Dad treat me like I'm an embarrassment when I try to be myself. If God loves me the way he made me, why can't you? I see how other kids' mamas look at them with pride, with joy, with love that doesn't come with conditions. I want that so bad, Mama. I want you to look at me the way Miss Rodriguez looks at Jenny, like I'm something wonderful instead of something that needs to be fixed. Don't you want me to be happy? Don't you want me to be healthy? Because pretending to be someone I'm not is making me sick inside. I can't sleep, I can't eat. I spend every day wishing I could disappear because existing as a lie is too painful. I'm not asking you to understand everything right away. I'm not asking you to go against Dad. I know how scary that would be. I'm just asking you to see me, to love me, to maybe Just maybe consider that the child you've been praying for isn't broken. She's just different than what you expected. You always say the Lord works in mysterious ways. Maybe this is one of those mysteries. Maybe he gave you a daughter when you were expecting a son because he knew you could love her if you tried. I'm still the one who makes you laugh when I make silly voices. I'm still your child, Mama. I just need you to love all of me, not just the parts that are easy. If you can't accept me as your daughter, I understand. But please don't stop loving me completely. Please don't let Dad's anger become your anger too. I need at least one person in this family to see that I'm not an abomination or a mistake or something to be ashamed of. I'm just Dale. I've always been just Dale, and Dale is a girl who loves her mama and wants more than anything to be loved back. Please, Mama, please just think about it. Please just pray about it. Not for God to change me, but for God to help you see me the way He made me. I love you more than all the stars in the sky. That will never change, no matter what happens. Your daughter, Dale. P.S. I hid this letter in your Bible, in the book of Ruth. I picked that one because Ruth said, "Where you go, I will go," to someone she loved. I want you to know that no matter how far apart we grow, my love for you will always follow you. I just hope someday your love can find me too.
It's a very powerful section. What's going on in this scene?
In that scene, Dale is getting ready to strike out on her own and go live the life she's chosen to live. She's writing a letter to her mother, an explanation saying that I just wanted you to see me and accept me and love me as a mother would love her daughter. Um, and I'm going to leave, but please know that me leaving doesn't mean I don't love you. I do love you, but I need you to love me as I am right now. And since you don't seem to be able to do that in this moment, I'm going to go out and find my found family who will love me as I am.
So it's kind of a plea to be seen in the way that she wants to be seen, sort of a last ditch attempt to kind of get her mom on her side. Great. Well, there's a lot more going on in your head than this book alone. As I understand it, this is a hot button situation. There's some additional. You've got another book coming out soon. Is that right?
Yes, yes. March 20th, which is my mom's birthday, I have another book coming out called You Can Get There From Here. And it is the complete opposite of Dell's story. It is not an epistolary fiction type book. This, believe it or not, is more of a self-help book. And I laugh because this girl, self-help, are you serious? But it's more of a self-help book. It's more about just showing up for yourself and not leaning on others to motivate you. It's not about motivation, it's about discipline. And that's what this book's about.
Well, anyone that's sat down to write a book starts to learn about discipline like as they go, because otherwise no getting it done. But great. So how did you decide to write a self help book as a follow up here?
I have so many people in my life that have beat the odds, and I use the bunny ears because statistically, I'll use myself. I am from, South Georgia, from a single parent household with multiple children. I'm supposed to be a statistic, right? And I'm not. And that's because my mom instilled in all of her kids, you can get wherever you want to be. If you are coming from food stamps, and I'm talking food stamps back in the day when they came in little booklets as bills, yes, that's me. Back when the wheels were square and made of wood. But my mom used to always tell us, if you want to go be a doctor, or you want to go be a lawyer, a policeman, or whatever, you can get where you're trying to go from here. You just have to plan it correctly. So this is just a lesson I got from my mom that I'm passing on to everyone else. As an English teacher, I have students right now who are just, they refuse to believe that they can become whatever they're trying to do. You can be an anesthesiologist. I talked to a student Friday and she goes, "Well, I want to be an anesthesiologist, but my grades this and my parents that." And I go, "Pause. Is anesthesiology what you want to do?" And she gives me the confirmation. And I go, "Okay, well, you set yourself up for that. Don't wait." Not saying your parents aren't going to have anything to do with it, but this is going to be a life that you have to live. So if anesthesiology is where you want to go, what schools have you looked at? And we sat down for an hour, looked at schools, talked about FAFSA, looked at student aids and all these kinds of things. Because you can get there from here. This is a starting point. This isn't where you have to finish. This is just where you start. Wherever you want to go, you get there. Let's plan the route. Let's get it done. No excuses. That's a big thing for me. No excuses.
Kudos to your
Okay.
student, because when I was in high school, I don't think I could pronounce anesthesiologist. Like I still don't think I could spell it. So that's very impressive, regardless. But it sounds like, honestly, based on what you're saying, I know you pitched it as kind of the complete opposite of a woman named Dale, but you know that book in itself is very uplifting, and it's about how do you get there from here. So I do think there's maybe more similarities than meets the eye. So you know, you're definitely like an exploratory writer. You're looking at a lot of different areas. Um, when you think about choosing genres or thinking about what you want to write, what do you think your trajectory is going to look like? Will it be a lot more kind of novels, kind of nonfiction stuff? Like what kind of stuff do you want to write?
Definitely going to be more fiction. It's going to be more of the stories like Dale or stories that are creating this world for readers. It's not going to be heavy on nonfiction at all. Um, Again, this happened, the You Can Get There From Here happened because it wouldn't get out of my head. And it started around the same time Dale did. But I had to put that on the side and get Dale's story because, she was a little bit more important. But it's 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 going to be more fiction than nonfiction, and I don't have a genre that I am putting myself in because again, this just happens off of people watching conversations and what's happening in the world. I always want to challenge myself, so that will be the tale of where I go next. I have never written science fiction. I did a week long challenge on TikTok about coming up with a concept for science fiction. And I did it and people loved it. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to throw it away because I'm not a science fiction writer. I don't even really read science fiction. And they were like, oh, no, you have to write it. It's so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And maybe they were blowing smoke. But then I was like, oh, this is something that I acknowledge I am not good at and I cannot do, but watch me do it. And so I put it in my file of things to be written. And one day I'm going to write a science fiction novel.
I love it. And it's funny you bring that up because I always tell people that like one of our earlier podcast episodes is with an author, Tyler Tarter, and he made the same comment, and I've heard it from a couple of other authors where the thing that they like the last thing furthest from their mind that they thought they would write, they end up writing kind of against their own better judgment, and then they get it out there and they find out people love it. It's like great, they're good at it. So you just never know kind of what's going to resonate with people, and what, you know, maybe even you're fighting it in the back of your head but it really wants to get out, and this whole
Exactly.
time, yeah, science
Exactly.
fiction, yeah, who knows.
You never know. And I will not turn down if a story or a concept can stay with me, I will not turn it down. I will write those characters. They will become real because that is my job. That is my passion. That is my desire is to bring these characters that are rolling around in my head onto the page in prayers that they would resonate with someone who is hoping to see them in a book. Someone is hoping to see Dale's story because maybe they're living it. Like, man, if only I knew a book where this person went through all these things and they made it, and that will show me that it's okay. I'm gonna be okay, and that's Dale.
Well, I know you name dropped TikTok in there. Where can readers find out more about you? How should they get in your world?
I am on Facebook as just Kae R Nelson writer. I am on Instagram as the underscore Kae R Nelson. TikTok is where I'm most active. I'm there as ink underscore intent, ink with intent. And I have a website just changed over. So it is, I'll spell it out, KAERNELSON.com. So my name, KRNelson.com.
Well, Kay, anything you'd like to leave us and our listeners with before we wrap up here?
I would like to leave you all with I love you. Who you are right now, who you are right now, whether you feel like you're a disappointment or a burden or whatever, I love you where you are. You are enough. I'm so glad you woke up this morning and decided to listen to this crazy chick talk on this podcast. Keep pushing. The change is coming. The blessing is on the other side of fear. You just got to get through it. That's it.
Great. Well, it's great wisdom. Great having you on the show. Really exciting about the book. Really exciting about the next release. Kay, just yeah, lots of appreciation for what you're doing, and keep doing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on again. I appreciate you too.